Janine is sunburnt. She's eating an orange on the balcony. The juice is running down her arm, sticky rivulets collecting in the crook of her elbow. The sunburn is old and has since deepened and bloomed, tightened and started peeling. It's spread across her back, save for the lines of her bikini top. The oranges here are ridiculous, sweet and dripping. She doesn't even have them normally. The balcony is red tile, too hot to walk on barefoot. She'd scalded her soles the first time she came out here, unthinking on the first morning. She's not made for the heat, but she soaks it up anyway, like a cold-blooded thing regaining movement. She's been drinking hot coffee in the mornings, bitter espresso, and hot tea in the deep blue evenings. She's trying to thaw herself out after the grey want of winter. She's been pale for months, brittle and teary, humourless. So now the orange, her second of the day. She lets her arms get tacky with it. It doesn't bother her now the way it always has. Spits the pips out into her ceramic saucer. Focuses on the sweetness on her tongue, coating the inside of her mouth. The way it thickens her spit. She's got a book splayed out, keeping her company. She's ignoring it in favour of watching the still world, like a cat keeping an eye on the back garden. There's a bar across the street from her. The balcony's the perfect vantage point from which to stare at the Spanish boys, who all smoke and yell delightedly, perched on their wrought metal chairs. It's too early for the gorgeous boys, though. The afternoon's still only taking off, and no one sitting out now is anything to look at. She's here alone and talks to no one. No one's here with her, because like syrup tapped out of a tree, she has no talk in her anymore. Or she talks to waiters, bartenders, women scooping ice cream, women selling soaps in markets, the pharmacist when she went in for sun cream. Also the man in the estanzo, the woman who works the till in the spar, an old English couple seated by her in a tapas restaurant. Between all these people, she has time to take things in and hope for nothing. Cherries, she's noticing, the peaches, all these pink, red, orange fruits, seasonal, soft, heavy with juice, sitting out in green plastic crates. The nights are when loneliness is most awful. Solitude in the summer sun is not so bad. She has Lipton iced tea, powdered beignets, the occasional Aperol spritz, half pints of maho, a sandwich on the beach, ham on. But in the close darkness of her bedroom, that thick conditioned air, things are different. People are partying. The streets sing distantly, and women laugh in the hallway. She, in her room of shadows, is missing out. She stays out as long as she can to avoid this, but the hot blue night is not magical or pine-scented enough for her to forget her singledom, her woman shape and woman weakness. Now in this early afternoon, after a late breakfast, after a milky coffee, slurping down the orange, she is not missing out. She is going to be part of the world and go to the beach. The beach here is not like at home. The pale sand gone wet and heavy, with rain and foamy grey waves. People in wetsuits, determined specks in the sea. Here it's a different thing. Sprawling bodies, sandy, glistening, glowing red and peeling. Some of the sexiest people she's ever seen, shining and tattooed. Kids, running, crying, eating crisps out of plastic bowls. No one cares she's here by herself. She's not the only one. Lone girls and old men, reading, melting into sleep. The sea, azure and filthy, full of supermodel couples, pontoons, leaping teenagers. Women with sunglasses perched atop dark updos, swaying with the huge soft waves. Not her own furious Atlantic, she thinks, full of wailing shipwrecks and slimy bones, but the sun-warmed Mediterranean, Mare Nostra, gentle in sunsets. She lays down on her towel, forms part of the frieze, reading Fitzgerald, tender as the night, bitchy but lovely, panoramic, away, alone in this heaving place, to get involved with other people. Weed now, on the sea breeze, there and gone. Spanish boys, the same types she sees in front of the bar. The same ones maybe even, blasting rap, reggaeton. Winter had been terrible, because she'd stayed in Dublin throughout, living in a semi-detached out in Baldoyle, with 3 women who would have found her corpse only after it became a matter of smell. She'd spent every day for months, in and out, on the Dart to the Bella Roma, where she'd wiped menus and tables and cutlery, where she'd sweated and scowled and bleached toilets, rude to everyone in her misery. The beach had been there the whole time. Red wine and fat yellow candles, garlic bread, the big stupid print of a turquoise Vespa on a suitably 1950s black and white street. The pasta primavera that she had for dinner every single day, the only vegetarian option. Tomato sauce with chunks of onion, courgette, pepper. She had avoided the pizzas, the meats, slick dripping slices of salami, chicken coated in oily pesto, the gloopy carbonara. It was often her only meal. She'd get up about an hour before she needed to leave for work, scroll on her phone in bed, have a coffee, a banana. She had been thinly triumphant, had taken pleasure in examining the angles of herself in her black jeans as she spritzed the mirror in the women's bathroom every night. She got white spots of calcium deficiency on her nails. She developed a serious caffeine addiction. She spent a lot of time in bed. She hasn't eaten pasta here, just fruit and bread, crisps and seafood tapas, calamari and prawns, battered squid, chips, salad, olives. The waiters are nice to her, jovial and silly because she is a lone tourist woman. She takes white wine with dinner, smiles and is silly back. They all stick in her mind, floppy-haired and jokey. Such gorgeous men, like from romance movies, perfume ads, men you wouldn't think could be real. She feels the wet world of home melting away with each of these interactions, something new forming around her. She is a pretty girl in a pretty okay world. Here on the beach, she is having a Fanta lemon. Has the can stuck into the sand, warm already. It's only ever refreshing on the first sip. After that, it just makes her thirsty, sticks to her teeth. She used to mix them with vodka as a teenager, masking the nail polish smell, surreptitious with her nagging outside the pub. There was a box of them in the back rooms at work, forgotten, not on the menu. Dumped there in October. She made her way through them. She'd take one in the evenings, drink it once she got home, first in the big yellow sitting room with her housemate Aisling, and then alone, later in that dark year, watching pirated TV on her laptop. She loves watching the young people on the beach, beautiful groups of them, so cool and happy. The gold chains, red nails, dark hair twisted into messy buns. Monica Vitti girls. It's so unfair, but she doesn't feel the usual twist. She's happy with her book and her drink and her towel, her tote bag, her sandy sun cream. Happy just to watch the stunning girls and their loud boyfriends. Laying on her stomach, feeling it press into the hot sand through her towel. She's too full, really. Hasn't let herself go hungry since she got here. Elbows starting to hurt from propping herself up, staring over the top of her yellow book. Her neck's aching too now. The effort of sitting up, reading, looking out. She rolls over, leaves Fitzgerald open face down on the burning sand. She starts to dissolve into her towel, lets it happen. Sleep comes thick and heavy, like honey poured over her. She sees the orange inside of her eyelids, can't open her eyes. Noise fades, turns static, bursts back in, jolts her, slips away again. Above all, the heat. That's what she notices when she wakes up, the absence of drowsy heat. Darkness is spread out like a big, thick animal. A fat black cat laid across the landscape, soft and cloaking. It's just her and her towel and the expansive night. She looks back to town from the beach, lit up now, the palm lined promenade, the night market, the merry-go-round. Glowing and distant, more distant than it should be. No sound reaches her where she is, just the breaking of small waves. She's shivering, she realizes, but there's nothing to put on. She feels heavy, slow moving on the silent beach, shoving stuff in her bag, underdressed and sandy. There's a pocket of light, a bonfire on the edge of the shore, like living in a tsunami zone, warmth right on the edge of the hungry sea. They're too far away for her to hear, the noise unable to reach her, even in this wide, flat, empty space. In her skirt, her crochet crop top, she starts towards them, just to see. The flickering of orange on the faces, limbs and hair of strangers draws her. She will just walk past them and go home. The closer she gets, the more she can make out. Singing. One of the boys she sees. One of the lovely Spanish boys with floppy hair and a guitar. A girl with big hair, tight dark waves. More of them, disappearing into each other. A pattern of moving legs and arms, locked at the elbow. Long fingers curled around the brown necks of bottles. One turns, notices her. Calls out in Spanish. She smiles back, hoping it was nothing bad. He waves her over, and now his girlfriend sees her, grins and motions. They want her to join, something she can't understand. She walks over anyway. These people are lovely. She's curious. The circle opens to let her in.